that's keeping us stuck, which is rejection.
Hmm.
That if I put myself out there, maybe I'll get rejected. If I put myself out there, maybe I will be seen as the fraud that I am. If I put myself out there, maybe something bad will happen. So it might be easier to just stay here and whine about it than to do this generous act. So I want to talk about my mom. I miss her every day. She died way too young. My mom was a volunteer and then an employee at the most important art museum in Buffalo called the Albright Knox. And it's considered one of the great art museums in America. And when she got there, the museum store wasn't really an idea. Most museums didn't have stores. And they sold some postcards. And she took it over and with her partner, Lita, grew it to 10 times the size. She co-founded the Museum Store Association, and museum stores around the country looked to that thing. So one of the things that she did was it bothered her that in Buffalo, a lot of people never came to the museum because it was a status thing and it wasn't the way they were raised. And my mom came up with this idea before the Antiques Roadshow was on television. She got two people from Sotheby's to come to the museum. This is like 1973. And if you had antiques in your attic, you were going to get these people from Sotheby's who would be able to tell you if they were worthwhile. So she comes home from work on Friday and the thing's the next day. And she had done a little press for it, but not much. And she was notably insecure, which was unusual for her. And she said, Seth, I'm a little nervous because we're doing this thing tomorrow. And what if no one comes? And then she turned to me and she said, well, if no one comes, no one will know that no one came. The next day, there were 5,000 people waiting in line.
That's incredible.
But the lesson for me was, if she had just done what was on the paper in her job, it would still be a little phone booth that sold postcards. And all the generous cycles that came out of her work happened because she was willing to do an event and maybe no one's going to come. Because she realized if no one comes, no one will know that no one came.
It's almost like these little pulls and ideas and just that thing that's inside you that you're waiting to do, that you feel this like resistance, that your excuses, you're safe. It's almost like I love flowers so much because it just amazes me that from a tiny seed, the most extraordinary, intricate, big thing can bloom over time. That's how I visualize these little impulses and seeds and stuff inside of us that you have no idea when it could bloom, what it would bloom into, but we don't allow them to like be planted. We keep them deep inside in the dark. Like, you know, most seeds don't bloom in a bag in the cold in a shed somewhere.
Right.
They need to be planted out into the open. You know, one thing that you ask people to do is to be remarkable. What does that mean?
If you want to make an impact, if you want to grow, if you want people to show up, don't yell at them. Make something worth making a remark about. That what it means to be remarkable is someone will benefit if they talk about you. They won't do it because of you. They'll do it because of them. So what it means to be remarkable is not to hustle or put on a weird show or, you know, wear a purple unicorn hat. It means do something that other people will benefit from if they remark about you.
And to me, that has a lot to do with how you do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The personal flair that you bring into something, the care that you do in terms of how you move through the world, that it's like people are looking for the thing that's remarkable, but so much of it is in the way that you operate. I had this experience with the late Arne Sorensen, who was the first non-family member to be the CEO of the Marriott Corporation. And I was interviewing him at this massive event. There were like 5,000 people in front of the audience. It was right when Starwood was merging with Marriott. Everyone was going bananas about their points. And so we had this great interview, and he had also talked about the brand. And that at the heart of the brand was this feeling that you felt like you were being welcomed home when you walked through the door, and that it was everybody's responsibility to create that experience. And so anyway, the conversation's over. It was wonderful. And then we stand up, the applause, and we go to head off the stage. And without any fanfare, without anything demonstrative, he quietly turns and picks up both our cups of coffee and the 2 napkins, and the CEO of Marriott carried them off the stage. And to me, that is an example of what you're talking about, because I have remarked about the impression that left on me in terms of his integrity and just who he was as a person and a leader that no words could have done. I have read where you often write, you are not behind, you are becoming. Why is this an important mindset?
So the single best way to get kids to behave is to award points. And then to say points will be deducted. That there's a huge business in the United States now where they give kids points for behaving in class, which they can trade in for sugary snacks later. Points are a wonderful manipulation tool. And, when we think about high school sports, they act like there's a trophy shortage. There's no trophy shortage. The purpose of high school soccer should not be to win the game, because it doesn't matter who wins the game. The purpose should be, how do we develop into the people we'd like to be? But it's much easier to just keep score of the game as a proxy for what should happen next. So we're surrounded by this status game. And it causes lots of marital strife because you don't make as much money as the people down the street, because they have to go on a nicer vacation than us, et cetera. That's only on your radar because we live in a world where it's possible to even fly to Paris. No one went on vacation to Paris 300 years ago. So we just keep upping the game, a ratchet, to say, there's a carrot, it's connected to the stick, we got to run faster. And it's a trap. The alternative is to say, who do I seek to become? Not compared to who. Back to who's it for, what's it for? This work I'm doing at work, is it so I can make more money than my neighbor? Why? What do I get by making more money than my neighbor? I don't think that's useful fuel. I think when we choose our fuel, we choose the life we're living, and choosing the fuel of I'm better than you, getting into a status loop, it never ends.
And if you recognize as you're listening, oh my God, that's me. Like, I am obsessed with my neighbor's kitchen, and now I don't like my kitchen, even though my kitchen was fine a week ago. But then I went over to their house, and then they've got the dream kitchen, and then you get into that thing. How do you, once you recognize, okay, Seth, bingo, you nailed me. I am in the status loop. I have the wrong fuel. What am I filling myself with?
Let's name it first.
Okay.
I'm going to the jewelry store. I'm going to the handbag store. I'm going to the athletics store because I need to buy some status. I need to buy some armor. I'm paying $400 for sneakers I could buy for $50 because the status will help me. Just name it repeatedly. I am doing this because I am afraid. I am doing this because in high school, I always felt left out, and now I have a chance to spend this money to not feel left out. If you say these things out loud, you might realize how ridiculous they sound. So name it. Then the second thing is, what am I going to rest my eyes on? What am I going to focus on? What are we keeping track of? When we sit down to dinner as a family and we talk to each other about our day, what do we announce? And what do we complain about? And what are we glad for? Right? So let's say you have a 6-year-old. A 6-year-old brings home their very first report card, and they got an A, an A, and a C. How do we respond? Why do we care that a 6-year-old got a C in something? We care because we know that in 11 years, they're going to start applying to famous colleges. Don't use the word good colleges. They're just famous colleges. And we need to create a system in our house where good grades are important, because I'm going to get a sticker for the back of my car, and that sticker is going to show I'm a good mom or a good dad. You don't say any of those things out loud, but that's exactly what's happening.
I'm sure, like, this is something, as you're talking, I'm like nodding my head. And for a very, very long time, I was fueled with the status. I was miserable because I was chasing all the things that I thought all the other fancy people had that I couldn't afford. And the endless cycle of trying to prove that we were good enough, that we were fitting in, that we were keeping up was exhausting. And I remember when I finally just started doing, I didn't realize it at the time, but what you're saying, which is naming it, as dumb as it sounds, I literally just turned to my kid and said, well, we're not doing that because we can't afford it. We're not going on that vacation because we don't have that kind of money. And just naming it diffused so much of it,
Yeah.
because now that I'm not in this battle with myself and I'm accepting the reality of it, I can choose whether or not this is a problem that I want to solve for a different reason, not because I feel I need to keep up, but because, boy, like it would feel kind of good if I worked really hard for the next 3 years on something on the side and saved up a little money that we could actually go away for a week. That would feel good, but I'm doing it for a different reason than to measure something that I've been gaslit into thinking that I need to measure.
Yeah. Naming it is key. And we're back to the but and the and, right? Well, we could go do that, or we could have this, and this in our life. Which one do you think would make us happier? It's generous to have an honest conversation with our family about what we can afford and can't afford. It's not selfish anymore. It's not something we should feel ashamed of, something we should be proud of because we're showing up where we're needed.
I'd love to talk about perfection because this was a huge breakthrough for me in your work, and just ship it. Like, just stop trying to make it perfect and ship it. And I think you will be proud, since I am a student of yours, to know that there were about 117 errors in the Let Them Theory book when it went to print. And people have painstakingly found them and pointed them out. And I am proud that it wasn't perfect.
So many things to dissect here because the words matter. Okay. There were typos in the book, but the concept of the book, the deliverable of the book, is not an error. Okay. Let's start with that. But now let's talk about quality, because quality is a really loaded word. Quality means 3 different things. So let's talk about each of them, because only one of them has to do with perfection. There is the quality of meeting spec. This means that a 1984 Toyota Camry, it does exactly what it's supposed to all the time. The parts fit correctly. That's all quality is. It meets spec. Quality simply means build a system that meets spec. So in 1969, in Detroit, when they put together a car, one of the last pieces, all the people there had rubber mallets, because the only way to get the pieces to fit together was to hit them with a mallet. In Japan, everything fit together like a watch. It was perfect. If you got the spec right, everything works better. But that doesn't mean you want to be better than the spec. That's a waste. It just meets spec. The second kind of quality is the quality of luxury. This is the word we use, I think, incorrectly when we really mean luxury. So a Rolls-Royce is a more quality car than a Camry. No, it's just more luxurious. And the third kind is the kind we use as an excuse to be a perfectionist. And this is, you can find 0 defects no matter how hard you look. And by that measure, nothing is perfect. The point of perfectionism is not to make it better. It's to keep you from shipping it. You can nitpick because you're trying to protect yourself, not because it's who's it for, what's it for. So